Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we break down your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues into digestible bites, and then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respected companies. Kamala Khan had a normal life. She had friends, and she had a loving religious Pakistani family, and she even had a fanfic about the Avengers like most teenage girls in a world with Marvel would have. And, like most 16-year-old girls, there's a party down the street that she needs to go to. Well, her parents, of course, don't want their daughter down at an unsupervised party at the waterfront, and after she argues with them up and down, she's sent to her room for a lack of manners. But what teenage girl would ditch a party because her parents told her to? Not Kamala. She's gonna go down to the party even if she has to sneak off, which she definitely does, and she ends up at her first real party, with music, boys, and friends. And she quickly runs into the popular kids group, where she's offered some orange juice to drink, with vodka. Her friend Bruno steps in and he pulls her away from all of the alcohol. And she can't get over how embarrassing that was. I mean, she just wanted to go to a party and hang out with the cool kids. And now her friend Bruno is trying to protect her and all, like he's her big brother or something. How dare he? So she storms off from the party and into the foggy night. Wait, where did all this fog come from? Well, with everyone at the party being mystified by this fog, Kamala makes her way through the city, stumbling through the fog, until she begins to get a little dizzy and lightheaded. And then she falls into the middle of the street. Man, that must have been some strong vodka. As she crawls along the street trying to figure out what's going on, a beam of light hits her, and she looks up to see her favorite superheroes, Iron Man, Captain America, and Captain Marvel. Not in that new lame costume. No, she's in her old beautiful costume with long, sexy hair. Oh, and there's a porcupine waving at her with the peace sign. Okay, so Kamala knows that this isn't real, as Iron Man tells her, in air quotes, "You're seeing what you need to see, Kamala." The Iron Man hallucination looks at her and tells her, "You left your family's home, and you disobeyed your parents, and you're ignoring your own culture just so that your classmates will accept you." But she argues back with Captain America. "I don't want to follow my family's rules." She explains that she grew up here, in Jersey City, not in the old country like her parents who just can't get out of the old ways. She shouldn't have to listen to her parents' rules and follow those guidelines. She should be allowed to live like an American teenager. And then she just sits down confused. She doesn't know what she's supposed to be or do. So the fake Captain Marvel asks her, "What do you want to be?" And she just looks up and says, "Awesome and butt-kicking and less complicated. I want to be you." Except I would be in that classic politically incorrect costume and kick button heels. Well, Captain Marvel looks down at her and says, "You must have a fetish for heels. Now I want to tell you, this isn't going to turn out like you're expecting." And with that, all three fake superheroes and the porcupine with a giant hand wave goodbye to her as they fade out of existence. And then she just stands there as the fog dissipates and she's all confused and everything gets dark around her. And then she punches her way out of a cocoon? She crawls out of the cocoon and hits the ground, and she realizes that she looks and sounds like classic Miss Marvel. Boy, this adventure's just beginning. Kamala feels so weird as Miss Marvel and so out there and so like she's gonna puke. And she reaches forward, changing back into 16-year-old Kamala. Okay, that was weird, she thinks to herself. And then she's struck down with a massive amount of pain and boom, she changes back into Miss Marvel. And then she changes back into Kamala again. The worst part about changing into Miss Marvel is the shocking realization that superhero costumes don't come with underwear. Okay, Kamala is liking this, so she tries out a few things and discovers that she can change at will and shrink down to the size of a beetle. But while she's playing around with her powers, the popular kids are over at the docks mystified by that fog, and the school jock is getting just a little too handsy with one of the girls, and then he accidentally pushes Zoe into the water. Kamala witnesses all of this on the grass nearby, and she says to herself, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, it's time for her to be a superhero, and it's time for Miss Marvel to save the day. So Kamala changes into the classic Miss Marvel once again, and she runs in to save Zoe. She makes her hand into a giant shovel, and she scoops up the entire pond, grabbing Zoe. Success! She saved her first civilian. But once all of the other civilians show up thanking Miss Marvel for the help and asking her about that giant hand, Kamala runs for the bushes once again. At this point, she's confused as to why she was even granted all of these great powers, so Kamala grabs a bum's jacket and she runs home as fast as she can. And after all of that sneaking out of the house, she gets back just in time to avoid being… No, she definitely got grounded when she got home. So she stands there as her parents tell her how disappointed they are in her and how she's so super grounded. And they explain that a part of being grounded is that she's now restricted to only home and only school. But she knows that this happened for a reason. She saved one life. She can save so many more. This is the moment she's been waiting for, to be the hero she's always dreamt of being, just like Captain Marvel. The next day, Kamala wakes up with her hair in tangles, and in a panic, she realizes that her exploits as Miss Marvel have made the news. Okay, she thinks, I can't be the first person to wake up with superpowers, and I can't be the first person to be all inhuman-like. So she spends the day trying to get a handle on her powers while looking up weird things like polymorphing, growing bigger and growing smaller. Eventually, she loses control as her body tenses up, and she accidentally shrinks down her hand and then super grows her whole body. Oh, and she then accidentally changes into her mother. Very Freudian of her. It's a crazy and stressful day, so on the way home she swings by her friend Bruno's shop to see how he's doing, and oh no, he's being robbed! Kamala quickly ducks behind the wall, and she realizes that her phone's dead. She can't call for help. But what is she worried about? She has superpowers now, she thinks to herself, and she quickly changes back into Miss Marvel and breaks the door down. Her new quick-thinking superhero brain makes a giant hand, and she smashes the table and grabs the Crook. The Crook looks at Bruno as he's being squeezed like crazy, and he tells him, "Dude, this has gone way too far! Make her stop squeezing me!" As Kamala says to herself, "This feels right. I can be a superhero." And just then, the Crook's gun goes off, and the bullet hits Kamala in the stomach. She lets go of the confused Crook, who can't believe that he even shot her, and she falls to the ground. The world begins to black out around her eyes as Bruno tells the Crook to get out of here. This has gone too far. The Crook runs to the door, and Bruno gets on the phone to call the police as quickly as he can, but Kamala reaches up for him and says, "Stop! It's me, Kamala!" Both Bruno and Kamala panic, and then Kamala realizes that she changed back into her normal self and the bullet wound is all healed up. As Kamala begins to dig around the back of her pants trying to find where the bullet actually fell out of her body, Bruno puts it all together. It was Kamala who saved Zoe at the party. And just as Bruno is starting to accept that his friend is actually a superhero, the sirens of the police that Bruno called are getting closer. Oh my god, what is Kamala gonna do? So she quickly tries to change back into Miss Marvel, but it looks like her healing ability needs her to stay as Kamala until she recovers from the gunshot. Easy fix, says Bruno, and he hands her a makeshift mask. And thus, the world is introduced to Mini Miss Marvel. Once the police leave and it's just her and Bruno again, Kamala puts two and two together from Bruno's talks with the Crook. "That was your brother, wasn't it?" she asks. And after a little coaxing, Bruno explains that his brother owes a lot of money to a local gang, and he was just trying to help him out. So Kamala decides she'll help him out. I mean, come on, she's a superhero now. So she whips up a costume from her traditional Berkey, and she heads off to the local gang hideout as Miss Marvel. Why is she sticking to the name Miss Marvel? Well, she figures that the name belongs to whoever has the courage to fight, and Kamala has more than enough courage to be a superhero. She walks into the basement where they're keeping Vic, Bruno's brother, and the first thing she encounters is a robot with a laser. She gives herself a little encouragement by telling herself that it's just like a boss in the world of Battlecraft. Don't fear it. And she does just that. She doesn't fear it, and she enlarges her foot and crushes the robot. But that's only the beginning, as more robots pop up out of the woodwork, and Kamala quickly makes two giant hands and slaps them down like flies. Boy, being a superhero is easy as she nervously keeps moving through the building. But eventually, she makes her way to the room that Vic is being kept in. She did it, except that the bad guys also arrive wearing shirts that say, "I'm a bad guy." Boy, could they be any more obvious? The bad guy tells Kamala that she's messing with the inventor's stuff, and then he opens fire on her. She embiggens. Oh yeah, that's what she calls her growing power, embiggening. So she embiggens her hand and gets shot in the side. Well, that hurts, she thinks, as she realizes that she can't keep herself embiggened while healing. So she quickly shrinks down and crawls out of the hideout to go heal up. Well, she needs to come up with a better plan to save Vic, she thinks, as she crawls back to her home, where she gets caught by her parents again for being out late, and being out while grounded. So while they yell at her and tell her that she's super grounded, she eats as much food as she can to help her healing accelerate. And then, the next day at school, since that's the only other place she can go, she starts her training montage as she pushes herself to the limits, and the very next night, she's right back at the bad guy's basement. She quickly destroys all of the robots by riding them and then smashing them, and then institutes her new plan. Grow big, grab Vic, and run! She grows some super long legs and takes some very large strides and runs out of there as fast as she can. And she kinda did it. She rescued Vic. The next day, a doll that looks like Ms. Marvel is displayed in the Jersey City for everyone to see. But that doesn't matter. Kamala is riding high on that adrenaline, and she walks right up to the doll in front of all of the other civilians and tells them, "This doesn't matter. Nobody messes with Jersey City." And then she grows some more giant legs and walks away. Meanwhile, the villain is walking into the inventor's lair, and he informs him that this Miss Marvel has taken back their hostage. And the inventor tells him, "You've made an urban legend, you idiot, and that legend ends now." And that's the first Miss Marvel storyline. I had a lot of fun reading this story and writing up the script for you, as you can imagine, and she's definitely one of my new favorite superheroes. If you're wondering, she is in fact an Inhuman, and if you want to know what they are, go check out our Inhumans video, which should be on the screen right about now. If you like this video or learned something new, please give the video a like if you really do appreciate it. And if you want to chat with me, find me on Twitter @Comicstorian. I'll see you guys next time right here at Comicstorian.